Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to the Gaily Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. Our first episode of 2026, and I am ready as your host, John Parker, to go back to 2025. It's just, what is going on? Okay, we're gonna get into a lot of stuff here today. Jim Pounds, my executive producer, here in the studio with me. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, please click that subscribe button and like and leave us a comment about how you're enjoying today's episode. So major story number one that we're going to get to later in the show, because we have breaking news happening in Minnesota today, but the Trump administration perpetrated a coup over the weekend in Venezuela, and I wanted to know exactly which law that his administration broke with this kidnapping of the dictator Maduro, Venezuelan dictator Maduro. So we're going to get into that later in the show. Heated rivalry on HBO Max has come to an end over the weekend. What is our final verdict? Plus, we take a look at the feature film Dating Amber and the documentary Mad About the Boy, the Noel Coward Story. Actually, I want to already fact check myself there. Heated rivalry did not end over the weekend. It ended about a week ago. But we've had time now to review it and digest it, and we're going to give you our final thoughts on that hockey series. But speaking of hockey, here in the hockey state, big news today. Governor Tim Walz has dropped out of the gubernatorial race in the North Star State. He made the announcement today. He was going for his third term, unprecedented, and there are a variety of reports happening here, one of which is that there was some internal pressure coming from members of the DFL. For folks in Chicago, DFL means Democratic Farmer Labor Party. That's our Democratic Party here. But he said in his press conference today, quote, "Every minute I spend defending my political interests would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of the race and let others worry about the election while I focus on the work." There have been a lot of, it's really hard to parse all of these out because we've had some pretty big fraud allegations against a variety of agencies here in the state of Minnesota, as well as organizations who are allegedly defrauding the state government and the federal government. The most recent was from this guy, YouTuber David. He was going by the whistleblower name of David, but it turns out that it's a right-wing YouTuber, Nick Shirley. So this David, under the name of David, he released this, claim, this video on YouTube as a quote-unquote investigative reporter that he had found out that daycares being operated by Somali owners were all perpetrating fraud. And this came out about a week or so ago. And then it turns out that, David, quote unquote, is Nick Shirley, a right-wing YouTuber who is also connected to an individual named David Hoke. And so this apparently maybe is the David here, but he also works in the Minnesota House, where that is apparently where they were getting their information from. Fun fact, he has been calling Somalis demon Muslims on his right-wing YouTube channel. So obviously very, unbiased, objective news reporting, right. Investigative news reporting from this individual. The Intercept, you can read a whole article here from The Intercept. They really dove into who is Shirley, who is this David Hoke? And what were they alleging here? They're obviously, the Trump administration is all over this and has suspended funding to child daycare centers because they're now going to look into the allegations of fraud. Already locally here, CBS Minnesota has been diving into the claims that Shirley was making on his YouTube video, and they're finding timestamp footage that undermines the supposed footage. So apparently, what they did, Shirley and David, is they got in masks and they showed up at a daycare center, and they were so scary that apparently according to the Intercept's reporting here, one daycare center director was like, I'm not even going to open the door for you guys.
Right.
CBS Minnesota was looking at timestamped footage, as I just said, saying, well, wait a minute, there are kids that are going into these daycare centers. They're claiming that nobody is going in there and they're accepting all of this money. There we go. I loved that the vice president was like, this is better journalism than anyone who won the Pulitzer Prize in 2024. And like, okay, whatever.
But is the lesson there for all of us? Somebody can claim whatever they want to claim, I suppose, in a free country. But when you're not using your own name, I mean, I post on Facebook all the time, but I use my own name, so I'm responsible. If I overstate something, if I use hyperbolic language or whatever, or call someone a name, I'm responsible for that because I'm not a coward. If you have masks on and you use a different name, you're a coward, and it makes me suspicious about what your intention was all along. And that kind of thinking is all that any of us need to do on the right or the left or the middle. If there's something suspicious about this, we shouldn't take it at face value. We shouldn't take anything. Don't take what I say at face value. Do a little checking yourself and try to keep your mind open. And, if there's something they're doing that's nefarious, that seems to be not what you would expect to be legitimate, even though Vice President Vance is not qualified for his position, and to shoot off his mouth about journalism when he doesn't even know what that means, is you can't take that and say, there's a truth. You got to keep looking for the truth. The truth is hidden under a lot of crap, and you have to search for it.
Okay. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. One interesting thing is that a source who was not authorized to speak to the media is saying that Senator Amy Klobuchar is considering jumping into the ring for governor, and that other possible candidates we haven't heard from are Attorney General Keith Ellison and Secretary of State Steve Simon. Already there are a bunch of Republicans that are in the race, notably the My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell, who still claims that Trump won the election in 2020 and practically ran his business into the ground. He is running, as well as the current Minnesota House Speaker Lisa DeMuth is running. A former congressional candidate, Kendall Qualls. I want to point out here for folks in Chicago, and maybe folks who don't know here in Minnesota, no Republican has won a statewide office in this state since 2006, 2008. I mean, it has been a very long time here, and the Republicans just don't put up quality candidates, and this state has moved left.
This is the state that gave us Jesse Ventura. I mean, the right wing in this state now has
happen again.
Jack Spratt and his wife, both running for governor, and it's pathetic on a whole bunch of different levels. But what I'd like to talk about, if we could for just a second, is to talk about Tim, because he was an excellent member of the House of Representatives from Minnesota 1. He was an excellent member of the U.S. House, and he represented Southern Minnesota, which he knew well. He knew those people. He taught their kids. He was very much of that place, and he was extraordinary, and he should never have left that job. That was his mistake, I think, and certainly saying yes to Kamala Harris, that was a mistake. But he was a great congressman, and I don't want to I don't want that to get lost in all this other baloney now. The person responsible for the fraud is the person who is administrating the federal funds. And I'm not going to be able to come up with her name right now. I was doing some investigating over the weekend. She runs one of the departments in the state of Minnesota government that administers those funds and is responsible for their appropriate administration. That's the person who didn't follow up, didn't make sure things were being double checked. There's the person you want to point at, not the governor.
But there's a lot of different. Yeah, we're gonna have to get into more of that, and we were planning on getting into more of that as 2026 went along here, because it is something that's absolutely going to be part of the campaign. If Walz was going to be in it, I'll be curious now to see, does this just go back into being a legal issue and not necessarily a political issue now that Governor Walz won't be running for a third term? I also want to say that I'm actually kind of relieved that Governor Walz isn't running. I am opposed to perennial candidates. I didn't think he should run in the first place, because it's like, you've been in there twice. He had a fantastic second term. What the DFL accomplished in terms of when they had the state Senate, when they had the Minnesota House, when they had the governor's mansion, they did an absolutely phenomenal, it's called the Minnesota Miracle, and has transformed the state, and will continue to transform the state for decades to come. And I think that he, to his credit, he got on board with that. He kind of ran as a centrist, and every single DFLer in the Senate, the House, and the governor, they all banded together. They had literally 1 vote margins, and they got through a impressive progressive agenda for this state. And I want to give him, the credit. He could have been a jerk about that. He could have, oh no, we got to compromise and blah, blah, blah. He didn't. He sat down with the Minnesota Speaker Emerita, Melissa Hortman, and they got it done. They made this happen. And so, he does deserve the credit about that. But I am happy that he is not going to be running again, just for democracy's sake. And I really do hope that Senator Klobuchar runs for governor, because that would mean we get 2 new senators in 2026 and a new governor. And I just think that is what we need in America, is more democracy, more candidates, not the same people running over and over and over again for office. But we have to fit in a break here. If you like what we're doing, and you're watching us on YouTube, please click subscribe and follow us there. You're listening to The Gaily Show. More after this very quick break.
In today's uncertain times, Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces believes that a fire can add comfort and security to your life. At Woodland, our mission is to connect you to a place for fire that works.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces installed our wood stove years ago, and we still love it. Watching the fire, feeling the heat, is a joy we experience every day. And knowing we have a reliable heat source makes us feel snug and safe.
There are many choices in wood, gas, or electric. For diversity in styles, at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we display over 180 models, and 35 of these are burning displays. You can experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Whether wood, gas, or electric, find a fire that warms your heart, a fire that adds comfort and security to your life. See the many choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, located on the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces since 1977. For over 48 years, our slogan has been, out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
Hi, it's Penny from Nightingale in Minneapolis. Since 2012, we've been your go-to dining spot near 26th and Lyndale in South Minneapolis. Indulge in classics like our scallops, steak tartare, Nightingale burger, and the irresistible chocolate pot de creme. Chef Carrie keeps it fresh with seasonal dishes. We have craft cocktails and curated wines for anyone's taste. And Mondays mean half-price wine bottles. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. with the full menu until midnight. Join us at Nightingale, where good times and great flavors come together.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Pretty much everybody I talk to is ready to leave 2025 behind. So what better way to do that than quite literally have Zero Res come over and clean that 2025 dirt out of the house? Pretty much any surface in your home can be zero resified, from carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, and so much more. Zero Res can take care of it all, so it's time to call the cleaning pros. Start your freshest year yet in 2026 with Zero Res's biggest sale ever in celebration of the new year, and wash 2025 right out of your home with this deal. This month, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and a free hallway, plus 15% off regularly priced services like air ducts, upholstery, area rugs, tile, hardwood, and more. Call 952-0RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
Hey, it's Beth from Big Hill Books. Yes, the happiest bookstore in the Twin Cities. When the world feels too serious, we say grab a book, pet a cat, and let Gigi the shop dog remind you joy still exists. Because reading and smiling are both acts of resistance. Find us at 405 Penn Avenue South in the lovely Bryn Mawr neighborhood. Or visit bighillbooks.com. Be sure to say hello and tell the gang you heard about us on AM 950.
Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I am John Parker. We're already coming up on the bottom of the hour. All right, so the other major news happening over the weekend is the United States perpetrating a coup against the country of Venezuela. And I just want to get out here immediately. Dictator Maduro was a dictator, and he had an armed force that was bullying people. Tens of thousands of people had been displaced, and not just bullying people. I mean, he had a militia that was going around terrorizing and killing people. All right,
like ICE? Is that what you? That same sort of
worse than ICE.
Okay,
worse than ICE.
Got it.
All right, and so this guy needs to be in The Hague and being tried by the International Criminal Court.
Yes.
So I want to be very clear here at the outset that this guy was a dictator. He deserves justice. How this is happening, though, is so egregious of international law. And I kept hearing people over the weekend as I was, reading and listening, watching MS Now and listening to programs this morning, like Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman. I wanted to know exactly what is the law, right? We can say that he is breaking international law. What law is he breaking? And so I was on looking at a variety of sites and came across justsecurity.org. And they lay out the case pretty clearly of what is happening legally now in Venezuela. And according to them, the allegations are that the Trump administration is violating Article 2 of the UN Charter. And I'm going to read what that says. It says, all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. And that is largely the point of that, is to protect smaller countries who do not and cannot spend billions, hundreds of billions of dollars every year, trillions of dollars on their national security. So your smaller countries like, Armenia, Czechia, Switzerland, Greenland, there should be that respect for.
It's called sovereignty.
Territorial, right. And so that is specifically what folks are calling on here, is that this operation is apparently you want to get into it, a prima facie breach. There are two apparently exceptions to this. One is if there is an authorization by the United Nations Security Council under a different chapter of the UN Charter, Chapter 7, if you want to look that up. Or there is the inherent right of self-defense, which is in Article 51 of the Charter. Well, okay, so Venezuela didn't attack the United States. So there goes that one.
Wow.
And the United Nations Security Council did not authorize the U.S. to go in and take this unilateral action. So when folks are saying, and I was like, well, what international law specifically did the Trump administration allegedly violate over the weekend? There it is, violating the UN Charter. Now here we get into the whole thing of Russia and Ukraine. We have been letting Russia chip away at Ukraine, and then we've let them right with Crimea back in 2010, 2014, and the so-called red lines that never were actually red lines, and then ultimately this war that we've got, which is coming up, I believe, on its third year already. So the problem why I'm bringing that up is that we have allowed that to go on for so long.
Right.
In violation of the UN Charter, and because there has been zero accountability on that front, we now see the Trump administration basically saying, okay, we're going to do our own thing here. We're going to perpetrate our own coup, and we have no plan for it. On Saturday, the Trump administration is saying, we're in charge of Venezuela now. We're directing the government. On Sunday, the Secretary of State Rubio is like, no, we're not in charge. We're just going to be, telling people this is what the United States interest is, but they're going to govern themselves. And then there was the whole, well, we needed to get rid of Maduro because he is committing, breaking U.S. laws. But now, literally, while we're on the air here, the Associated Press is breaking news that Delcy Rodriguez, who is Maduro's vice president, is now the interim president of Venezuela. And if you want to take a deep dive into Venezuelan dictatorial politics, as it turns out, his vice president is just on board with almost everything that Maduro has been doing, that she has had her hand in almost everything that has been going on in that country, propping up that dictatorship and all of the supposed violations of American law. So why would you take out Maduro but leave the vice president in there?
Well, I mean, let's back up a little bit. First of all, is this the same charter that Bush and Cheney violated? Why they should have been in The Hague when they attacked Iraq? Iraq had not attacked us. Same situation. They claimed he was this. They claimed he was that. All of that proved to be false claims.
I think they went in. We're gonna have to look that up, because I believe they did get a UN vote, because there was Colin Powell.
Yeah, he lied to the UN,
who was providing false information
right
to the United Nations. Now I cannot remember, so we'll have to look that up, of whether or not the UN Security Council authorized invasion of Iraq in 2006. Britain was on board. I don't think France was. Russia probably wasn't. So I don't know if they got the vote in the Security Council, but we'll have to look that up. But I do remember that Colin Powell was, in trouble, and should have been in more trouble for lying to the UN and presenting false information.
I also want to question one thing. You said that Maduro broke American laws. I don't think that's true, is it? Or are they saying we don't like what he's doing? Or was there an actual United States law?
So that's why in court today, he was being charged for drug trafficking and violating a variety of U.S. laws related
like the guy
to
that
drug
Trump,
trafficking.
The guy that Trump pardoned a few weeks ago. Same idea. Yeah. So
yep.
Interesting. Continuing hypocrisy of the former Republican Party.
Yeah. Now, also interesting is that he has been threatening to sanction members of the International Criminal Court for them daring to say that United States officials are subject to international law, and they can be investigated and prosecuted under international law when they leave office.
Absolutely.
And so he's sanctioning them, but then also somehow saying that other world leaders can be kidnapped for violating American laws.
Right.
And what?
He better hope he doesn't live to the end of his term. That's all I can say, for his own safety, or not safety, his freedom.
I have a couple more thoughts about this when we come back from the break. You're listening to the Gaily Show on AM 950 Radio, KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter.
This is Santita Jackson, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I couldn't be more excited about starting our days together, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Scott Shamblat from Shamblat Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shamblat Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Hey, Chanhassen and Eden Prairie. It's Alex with Buzzcut Mowing. Winter's on its way. Why spend your morning shoveling snow when I can take care of it for you? I provide fast, thorough, and reliable snow removal. Your driveway and sidewalk stay clear, safe, and completely stress-free. Stay warm, skip the back-breaking work, and let me handle all the heavy lifting this season. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today to make winter easier, safer, and more enjoyable with Buzzcut Mowing.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our local small businesses. Do you want more leads, more store traffic, more customers? Thousands of local businesses, just like yours, count on Minuteman Uptown to drive sales. We make your business stand out and show out. We print everything from signage, promotions, and direct marketing. We connect you to the community. Choose Minuteman Uptown because we share your values and we are a proud union shop. Contact us today at mpuptown.com.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Today, cloudy with a high of 34. Then tonight, freezing rain possible with a low of 29. Heat up these cold nights with the hottest musical acts around at Crooner's Supper Club. Crooner's is located just north of I-694 off Highway 65 and Moore Lake Drive. Visit croonersmn.com to view their schedules and food menus.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. It is 33 minutes after the hour. I'm your host, John Parker, joined by my executive producer in studio, Jim Pounds. Also live streaming on our YouTube channel. If you like what we're seeing, subscribe on YouTube, click that like button, and leave us a comment about how you are enjoying the show. All right, so we were talking about Venezuela before the break here. Jim, I know you wanted to jump in here.
Well, this is the third country that the person who said he should receive the Pulitzer Peace, or not the Pulitzer Prize, the Peace Prize, right? The Nobel Peace Prize. He's attacked 3 countries in the year that he's been back in office. So I just want to keep reminding people, because his thing is, I don't want you thinking about Epstein. I don't want you thinking about what I did on that airplane. I want you thinking about Venezuela. And now I want you thinking about Syria. And now I want you thinking about Nairobi, or wherever, where he's attacked, because he's just trying to misdirect you. So I know the smart people are paying attention to that, but the independents who aren't paying as much attention should be aware of what a warmonger this guy has been, when he criticized the former president and others for maintaining this permanent war situation. He's being just as warmongering, wasting an enormous amount of resources on this adventurism, escapades, I think Chuck Schumer called it today. Something to just not take seriously, although I think the world is taking us seriously in a bad way now. I'd be a little worried to travel overseas, to be honest with you, given the reputation that we're creating for ourselves, that he's created for us.
Well, okay, so in the mix of this, and I know that this feels like so to 10 years ago. If we recall from last year, the Trump administration canceled the temporary protected status of 250,000 Venezuelans who have been living in the U.S. legally, living and working in the United States. He stripped them of that temporary protected status, and I did 350,000 before that, stripping them of their temporary protected status. More than half of Venezuelans live in the state of Florida. The question now is, well, what happens to them? Are they going to get their temporary protected status back? Are they still going to be repatriated to Venezuela now that it's quote unquote free? Well, Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security,
yes,
she said, well, no, that has still revoked the TPS status, but the folks who were under that can now apply to be refugees.
Oh, okay.
But they've basically shut that door down for refugees in the United States. So I'm not. It's sort of like, well, you're still not. You don't have TPS status, and you're now going to have to go through the entire process of applying to be a refugee to stay here in the country. And what does that mean exactly? So I was a little. Excuse me. I was a little like, why are all of these, these Venezuelans were out in force in Florida, South Florida over the weekend, praising the Trump administration for what he did. But I was like, with the information coming in, the vice president, Maduro's vice president, who is like this with him, thick as thieves, she's now in control. So the entire apparatus, Maduro's entire apparatus, is still in power in Venezuela.
Yep.
Maduro has been kidnapped, and the Trump administration is still saying no more temporary protected status. We're not doing that. If you want to stay in the country, you have to apply to be a refugee at this point. So it's I was like, well, okay, fine, yes, bring Maduro. The guy needs to be brought to justice, but it needs to be in The Hague. It needs to be under the International Criminal Court, not the way that this is happening right now. This is all illegal of what the United States is doing. If you're going to have justice, then have justice.
I don't think that justice had anything to do with this. This is profiteering by allowing U.S. oil companies, who are some of the most despicable business people on the planet, to access to Venezuelan oil. This had nothing to do with justice or drug running or any of the other baloney. This was trying to get trillions of dollars out of the Venezuelan economy for more rich you-know-whats in the United States. So it is adventurism, it is escapades, it is money driven, like everything Trump does. Everything he's ever done has only been about trying to make himself feel better about it, how much he hates himself by making himself more powerful. Nothing's going to fill that hole. And that's what this was all about, adventurism for money.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes.
The Nobel Peace Prize last year went to an individual who won the presidential election that Maduro rigged.
Yep.
And so she won she's Venezuelan. She won the Peace Prize.
Yep.
And the one that Trump says that he deserved.
Yeah.
Her name is Maria Corina Machado. And so now folks were like, well, if you've deposed Maduro and you're getting rid of his government, she is the rightful elected president of Venezuela.
Democracy.
And Trump is sitting there saying, oh, no, she doesn't have what it takes. She doesn't have what it takes to be the president of Venezuela. So they're not going to have
democracy.
The whole thing, and just the pettiness of it all. To be like, well, that was my Nobel Peace Prize. So, but he's positioning himself as the liberator of Venezuela. It's the level of illegality on top of the pettiness,
on top of the hypocrisy.
Isn't
this what we find, though? Every time we dig into a Republican position on any issue, it does not matter what it is. You find contradictions, hypocrisy, where they said one thing 2 weeks ago and now they're saying something else. Not just this administration. There is not a Republican that apparently believes in something down to the solid ground. Do you know what I mean? They've twisted themselves and they surround themselves now with incompetence like Kristi Noem, who don't know what they're doing, or Pam Bondi. They have no idea how to do these jobs, or Patel. None of them know how to do these jobs. And you can tell because of the mistakes they make, the sort of selfish, childishness of the defense secretary or whoever it is. It's how Trump has always run his businesses, like a carnival, like a sideshow. And now it's our country.
It reminds me of, in 2003, Bush, we're going to be welcomed as liberators in Iraq. No. The Bush administration had no real plans for how to effectuate democracy in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Neither did Russia. Neither did Russia before them. And we. I shouldn't be laughing. Well, Russia was in Afghanistan for how long?
Oh, I see.
How long were they in that morass? And we learned nothing from it because our generals, with hubris, think, oh, well, we can just solve this. No, we didn't solve Vietnam. We didn't solve Afghanistan. Military might is usually not the solution for anything. And yet these morons with bad childhoods and bad parenting get into these positions of authority and execute their mental illness in public. It's just craziness. Crazy.
Okay. You've taken this from a rational debate here.
It is a rational debate.
It
is a rational debate. You can't solve a problem by going in and kidnap. That's what a child does. That's what a 12-year-old does on the playground. Don't
infantilize them, though.
Well,
they are adults making.
I know, but
making criminal decisions, and they need to be held accountable to this. And this is something that every Democrat right now needs to be saying. Every single person involved in this illegal operation, from the generals on down to the people in the helicopters, they need to be put on notice that they will be investigated, prosecuted.
Yes.
We need to have, I was talking about this over the weekend. President Ford pardoned Nixon and kicked off this whole spiral of, we're not going to hold the previous administration responsible for their crimes. President Obama was famously, we're turning the page on President Bush. We're not going to do massive investigations. President Biden and his Attorney General Merrick Garland, they slow walked those investigations so long that they ultimately just became impotent, and all of them had to be thrown out. We need to be planning now for full, wide-scale investigations, top to bottom. The Supreme Court gave Trump a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card. Fine. You know who doesn't have that? Vance doesn't have that. Noem doesn't have that. Hegseth doesn't have that. Rubio doesn't have that. All of those generals in charge, they didn't have that. All the way down, all those service members, all those Department of State people, all those DOD people that were involved in making this happen,
Department of Justice,
they need to know that they will be investigated, that it is going to be the greatest investigation of a former presidential administration, top to bottom, ever conducted here in the United States. And if we need to refer people to The Hague, then we all need to get ready to refer people to The Hague. Because this level of criminality, if we just let it go, then it just tells a future administration,
go
that's fine. And when the entire international community just let Putin get away with it,
That's right.
Okay, now other countries are. Well, what's stopping China from going into Taiwan right now?
But we learned this.
What
lesson.
is stopping Turkey or Azerbaijan from wiping Armenia out right now?
We should have learned this lesson from World War II when people kept appeasing Hitler, and you can't deal with people who have a maniacal desire for power. Whether you admire them for some weird reason of your own problem, I don't know. You can't allow. You really do have to know what's right and what's wrong, and you have to stand up for what's right, even if tens of thousands of these people go to prison.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
It's the thing is that if we allow Russia to continue to do what it's doing and not hold them accountable, and now we're not going to hold the Trump administration accountable, what we are basically saying is that the UN Charter is a bunch of words on a meaningless piece of paper.
Right. Which is right, or you either believe in right or wrong.
So
it's a very simple decision.
The UN Charter has to mean something, or it's basically we all get together in New York and we talk at each other, and that's basically all that we do here.
I think
so. That is what is at stake here. Do these laws, do these international agreements mean anything?
Right.
And now you have the United States credibly accused of violating the UN Charter. You have Russia, who is absolutely violating the UN Charter.
China. Yep. I know. It makes for an ugly future, very ugly future, but it's the only way to bring the car around. You know what I mean? Is to say we know what's right and we know what's wrong, and we either act mightily in favor of right, or
it very well then may be on us to do it. If the international community isn't going to, because it's the United States and we can't go in there, then it falls to us as progressives, it falls to us as the Democratic Party to say, we will prosecute everybody, and we will refer you to the International Criminal Court for violations of the UN Charter beginning in 2027, when we have control of investigative powers in the House, when we win that back, and in 2029 when we have the president of the White House and we have the Senate back. That is what is at stake here. It is going to be incumbent on us to hold ourselves accountable and to prosecute and to send people to jail if they are found guilty. That is what is at stake here. And if Democrats are not on board with that, and if they're going to be that, oh, well, thank God we got through that, he can't run again, so let's just turn the page on the whole MAGA movement and move on with our lives. No. Nope. We need to be planning for it now. Where are the lawyers? Where they are going to be staffers? We need clerks. We need investigators who are ready to go to prosecute everybody. No one is immune from prosecution. You are listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. We're going to take one last break. More when we come back.
Hi, I'm Jay from Greenhouse Salon and Shop. If your current salon experience feels rushed or impersonal, come feel the difference at Greenhouse. Our artists create personalized styles in a warm, inclusive space, and our shop is full of unique gifts from local women makers. See some of what's in store and book your appointment online at greenhousebrynmar.com. Better yet, stop by 403 Cedar Lake Road South in the quaint Bryn Mawr neighborhood of Minneapolis. Greenhouse, where every client feels cared for.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Pretty much everybody I talk to is ready to leave 2025 behind. So what better way to do that than quite literally have Zero Res come over and clean that 2025 dirt out of the house? Pretty much any surface in your home can be zero resified, from carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, and so much more. Zero Res can take care of it all, so it's time to call the cleaning pros. Start your freshest year yet in 2026 with Zero Res's biggest sale ever in celebration of the new year, and wash 2025 right out of your home with this deal. This month, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $119 and a free hallway, plus 15% off regularly priced services like air ducts, upholstery, area rugs, tile, hardwood, and more. Call 952-0RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I am John Parker. This week is our 1-year anniversary as a daily show. And that's very exciting that we made it to 1 year. Yay, Jim, we made it to 1 year. As part of that, and over the course of the month, you're going to see some fun changes to the Gaily Show. So if you're watching on YouTube, you see that we have a new logo that we are rolling out, a soft roll. What was that they said in Schitt's Creek? It is a soft launch of our logo. You'll also start to hear some new music during the show for our transitions. There'll be some other fun things that you start to see over the month of changes coming to the show. But hey, we made it 1 year of being the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. All right, briefly before we end our time today, coming up on the top of the hour, Heated Rivalry came to a close, I think, with its strongest episode, besides the 3rd episode, which was my favorite episode of the entire season. But we saw it come to an end where our 2 hockey players are found out by one of their parents, Shane's parents, and they have to, come up with a plan of how they're going to come out to the world, how they want to do that, how they're going to be together. And I just thought that was a really special way of tying up the season. There are like 5 books, so I believe it has already been renewed for a 2nd season. Is that right, Jim?
That's correct.
So your thoughts briefly?
Thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up. Okay. Well, I recommend it. Is it perfect? No, it is not perfect. But it's nice to see that we're getting more and more LGBTQ shows out there. And so we want to continue that trend. Even if it is not a perfect show, it was still an excellent show. That doesn't make any sense. I enjoyed it. I recommend that you all go out and see it. Strong 3.5 rainbows out of 5. Also watched over the weekend a film from 2020 called Dating Amber. It is an Irish film where 2 school friends decide to start a pretend straight relationship in an effort to fit in. Directed and written by David Frine, starring Fionn O'Shea, Lola Pettigrew, and Sharon Horgan. I thought this was a really delightful film. I thought that the lead performances were fantastic. The film takes place in the 90s in Ireland. I thought that Lola Pettigrew as Amber was my favorite performance. Eddie the character of Eddie, played by Fionn O'Shea, super in the closet, really having a lot of trouble being able to come out as gay in there. But Lola Pettigrew's Amber is just absolutely delightful and goes on a really special journey there. I would give this film 4 out of 5 rainbows. Really solid. Cinematography is really good, really evokes the 90s there. Some really great 90s references. I'm sure there'd be more references that I would have picked up on, but not being Irish and not having lived there, I'm sure there were more on that. But I really enjoyed this movie. We watched it on Prime, I believe is where we watched it, where it is available. Jim, your thoughts on Dating Amber?
Thumbs up.
Oh, okay. You're being very succinct here.
I'm accused of not being sometimes, so
this is true. This is true.
There you go.
It was a great. I really enjoyed it. And if you like Finn O'Shea, you can also catch him in another film from a few years ago called. Oh my gosh, I just blanked on the Handsome Devil. Jeez. Handsome Devil, also playing a closeted kid in high school. Also stars one wow names today. Andrew Scott plays his literature English professor. That's a really lovely film as well that you can catch it if you like Finn O'Shea in Dating Amber. Also got to check out the documentary Mad About the Boy, the Noel Coward story. This is from 2023. We watched it on Deku. Dekkoo. The summary is the extraordinary life of playwright, singer, actor, and composer Noel Coward, who rose from poverty to stardom while keeping his sexuality a secret. It was directed and written by Barnaby Thompson. Interestingly, it also was featuring narration by Alan Cumming, and also had Rupert Everett, who was reading dramatizational reading of notes and journal entries and letters that Noel Coward had written throughout his life. There weren't any talking heads, though, in this movie, which I thought was really interesting for a documentary. Usually we get that sort of interview and we hear from, someone's, perspective on him. And we really just only saw it in voiceover. We heard about things in voiceover. Interviews that were done in voiceover. I mean, we really just saw interviews with Noel from back in the day. We saw film performance that he was doing. We saw theatrical stills and photos that he was doing. We heard him singing, both audio of that and seeing him perform. And I just didn't realize everything that went into Noel. I knew him as a playwright. So I didn't know him as a performer and a singer-songwriter. And I didn't know that there were, films that he was also acting in. So I thought it was I really enjoyed getting to know more about Noel Coward. And also, I mean, it was a very difficult time to, be a gay man back then. And he was very much in the closet. So also learning about how he had to navigate that was really tough to see as well. Jim, I guess your thoughts? You've got 45 seconds if you want to say more, Jim.
No, I liked all three of these films. I thought there was at least something to recommend them. I wasn't neutral about them. I was on the positive side. And like you said, not perfect, but worth your time, I would say.
Oh, no. Yeah, totally. Dating Amber, 4 out of 5 rainbows. Mad About the Boy, the Noel Coward story, 4 out of 5 rainbows as well. Highly recommend those two. And give you a whole bunch of New Year's, if you haven't seen them, New Year's viewing to kick off 2026. All right, that's going to do it for us here today on The Gaily Show. If you are watching on YouTube, please click that subscribe button and click like on this video. For folks on WCPTA 20, up next is Democracy Now! On AM 950 Radio here in Minneapolis. It is the Matt McNeil Show, followed after that by Native Roots Radio. And then at 10 p.m. Central, Step into the Unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio. And until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.